perhaps the only good thing about this for Ghana would be the rush to gold, and there is apparently now in the West there's actually a shortage of gold, partly because South Africa can't ship its refined gold to the Western treasuries anymore, and in general there's been a flight from the uncertainty of equities and other financial instruments into gold. And they say that when there's a crisis, do what the peasants do, buy land and gold. And I guess that's what the plutocrats are doing. And that should at least help Ghana's gold exports this year, even if the rest of the economy takes a pretty serious hit.
Any other issues that people want to hit?
Actually, I was going to say there has been this call on social media to the government that if any government officials do catch coronavirus, do test positive, that they should stay in their state and get healthcare from there, because I guess people now are like, our healthcare system is so bad and the government has been ignoring it for so long. And this is, I guess people are like, if you think we've been saying you should fix our healthcare system, and if you haven't, that means you think it's fine, so you should stay in your state and get treatment there. I mean, the government would obviously not do that. But there also it has come to light that a lot of doctors have not been paid. There was one doctor that reported that she received her December 2018 salary earlier this month. So although they're trying to get all doctors to have all hands on deck, it is hard to expect them to do that when they haven't been paid in so long. There is also a fear that if the President Buhari does catch it, he is old, he has been very ill, it might not go well for him. But in that case, and if our vice president becomes the president, there is a fear of a sort of civil war almost, because there has been already talks of this virus being a southern virus, and if Buhari catches it, the southerners, it's kind of it was a scheme to give Buhari the virus so that we could get a southern man in office. So people are hoping Buhari doesn't catch it. It would make the country very unstable if there is a change in power right now.
I was just going to add on one thing about Algeria, actually, if that's okay. Because as we've just reached the 1 year anniversary of the movement, the revolution that overthrew the regime from before, they have the Hirak movement, which had continued on with its protest and amassing mass people on the streets all across the country up until very recently, have been sort of dealt with this question, which I think, Patrick, you had mentioned about, how does this play into the opposition? And the fact is that, well, now that the government has decreed that everyone is to stay home to wait out the coronavirus as a measure, you have a lot of people from the Hirak movement which have actually split, and it's those who believe, well, this is just a ploy by the government to silence us, so we need to keep going since we already have very few cases. How bad could it get? And then the others that are saying, well, we've come this far, what's a little pause, we can continue onwards. And I think it was just a few days ago, if not last night, is every night while the people are in their apartments or at home, they do continue on with the movement by making as much noise as possible from their homes as a way to kind of remind everyone that we're still here, although we might still be at home. So it's just the momentum is still there, but it's a question of how to work with that, how to keep that going despite the measures that are being imposed on them.
From my side, Nicholas, people have said that if South Africa does get this under control, there is the risk of Zimbabwe, our northerly neighbor. There are lots of Zimbabwean nationals who work in South Africa, and there's a lot of movement between the two countries. And if it's not under control in Zimbabwe with its current, challenges with the government not having enough money to pay public servants and the doctors' strike and a compromised healthcare system, that could actually be the unforeseen risk to South Africa. The other thing is that, having military personnel on the streets in South Africa is a very a politically sensitive, matter, because in a post-apartheid environment, the military was used, by the apartheid regime to repress the domestic environment. So there are some concerns about, women going on their own to go buy essentials, whether our military personnel are adequately trained to deal with civilians, because they're often deployed, in war zones and in circumstances where free movement and democratic rights are not necessarily observed. So those are the two main concerns that have been expressed outside of the lockdown environment.
That's all for this week. Stay safe and stay well informed wherever you are. Go to theafricareport.com for all our latest coronavirus reporting, and speak to us on Twitter @The Africa Report and on our Facebook page too. I'm Nick Norbrook. Thanks for listening.